Welcome back to Geoscope. Today we're looking at a crisis that's quietly reshaping global trade. U.S. corn. Once the undisputed export leader, America now faces falling futures, record harvest forecasts, and mounting production costs that are squeezing farmers. At the same time, Mexico's resistance to genetically modified corn has triggered a USMCA dispute, and Canada is stepping in with traceability and low-carbon certifications to capture premium Asian buyers. The story of U.S. corn is shifting from automatic leader to a market under real pressure, from automatic leader to under pressure. For decades, the story of global corn was written in the American heartland. U.S. corn didn't just compete, it dominated world trade. This wasn't by accident, it was the result of a multi-generational project, building an agricultural engine of unmatched scale and efficiency. An intricate network of riverways, railways, and advanced logistics created a direct pipeline from the fertile soil of the Midwest to the far corners of the globe. Supported by cutting-edge research and favorable policy, the American farmer became the world's most productive, establishing a position that once seemed unassailable. But by late summer 2025, the foundation of that dominance showed deep fractures. On the Chicago trading floors, a brief, optimistic rally fizzled out. The reason was a paradox of success. Forecasts predicted one of the largest harvests in American history. In a balanced market, this would be cause for celebration. In today's saturated global landscape, it was a bearish signal, and the weight of that abundance began to drag prices down, creating a ripple effect felt by every player in the supply chain. As futures slipped, the economic vice on the American farmer tightened, profit margins, already thin, evaporated. It was a storm of escalating costs. Fuel prices, tethered to volatile global energy markets, soared. A persistent labor shortage drove up wages. The cost of fertilizer, a non-negotiable input, had doubled in just a few years. And with rising interest rates, the credit needed to finance a modern farming operation became a significant burden. For many, the goal was no longer profit but survival. Simply breaking even was the best-case scenario. This domestic pressure was compounded by unpredictable foreign demand. The era of the single, massive, reliable buyer is over. USDA data reveals a volatile landscape where key customers like Mexico, Japan, Colombia, and the Philippines rotate in and out of the market. These nations are now strategic, diversifying their sources to mitigate risk and chase the best price. This leaves U.S. exporters in a state of uncertainty, unable to rely on the consistent, large-scale contracts that once formed the bedrock of the trade. Meanwhile, the competition is growing stronger and more sophisticated. In Europe, Germany is leveraging technology and EU policy to project a sharp increase in its own grain output. And across the globe, Black Sea exporters, particularly Ukraine and Russia, have proven remarkably resilient. Despite regional conflict, their low production costs and strategic proximity to markets in Africa and the Middle East allow them to consistently offer prices that undercut American exports, keeping global prices fiercely competitive. In this new reality, the battle for market share is no longer fought on price and volume alone. For U.S. corn, compliance now matters as much as cost. Traceability, sustainability metrics, and adherence to complex national regulations are the new frontiers of trade. And it is on this new battleground that the relationship with Mexico, America's largest and most important customer, takes center stage, threatening to redefine the future of the entire industry. Mexico's GM corn dispute, a ruling without resolution. Mexico isn't just a major trading partner, it's the single largest export market for U.S. corn, valued at over $5 billion annually. This deep integration, primarily for animal feed, means any policy shift in Mexico City sends shockwaves through the American heartland. The dispute ignited over Mexico's decree to phase out GM corn, citing concerns for public health and native corn varieties. The U.S. argued the ban lacked a scientific basis and violated the USMCA. In December 2024, a dispute panel sided with Washington, agreeing the restrictions lacked the required scientific justification. On paper, it was a decisive victory for U.S. trade officials, affirming the principles of science-based trade. But in practice, the situation is far more complicated. The ruling doesn't erase the deep-seated cultural motivations behind Mexico's stance. Corn is foundational to Mexican identity. While pledging to comply, the government continues to champion protecting its native maize and reserving non-GMO corn for staple foods. As a result, while the multi-billion-dollar flow of U.S. corn continues, a cloud of uncertainty hangs over the market, creating risk throughout the supply chain. In response, Mexican buyers are hedging their risk by demanding higher verification standards. They now require comprehensive traceability, rigorous residue testing, and ironclad chain of custody records to guarantee product integrity, especially for non-GMO shipments. For U.S. exporters, this is a paradigm shift. Those who invest in these advanced systems secure their business, while others risk being shut out. This isn't just a Mexican issue, it's a global trend where sustainability and transparency are reshaping agricultural trade from a bulk commodity business to one of specified products. And this is precisely the opening that savvy international competitors are exploiting. Canada, with its established identity-preserved programs, is positioning itself as a reliable alternative. The U.S. won the legal battle but created a new competitive battlefield defined by trust. Chasing the green premium. The global grain trade was once a straightforward game of numbers. Corn was a commodity, and the winning formula was simple: the lowest price and the most efficient freight. But that era is fading. Today, a new, more complex currency is taking precedence: verifiable proof. International buyers are no longer just purchasing grain, they're purchasing its story, backed by hard data. They demand evidence of sustainable farming practices, a quantified carbon impact, and transparent supply chain integrity. This isn't just about corporate image, it's a response to pressure from consumers and investors who want to know the environmental cost of their food and fuel. This shift has been supercharged by stringent new regulations from the European Union. The EU's deforestation regulation is a game-changer, mandating precise geolocation data to prove products didn't come from recently deforested land. Failure to comply means no market access. This creates a powerful financial incentive, a green premium, for those who can provide a digital passport for their grain. Seeing this trend early, Canada invested in traceability, leveraging their established systems for identity-preserved grains where specific crops are kept separate. They developed sophisticated platforms to digitally track every bushel from the seed onward. This digital ledger creates an immutable record of a crop's journey, detailing cultivation methods and movement. For importers and customs officials, this provides a trusted source of truth, simplifying clearance. For Canadian exporters, it unlocks access to premium markets. The United States can meet these standards, and some exporters already do, but the core challenge is scale. The U.S. grain system is an industrial marvel, engineered for speed and volume by commingling grain from countless sources. Retrofitting this massive bulk handling infrastructure for farm-level data segregation is a monumental undertaking. It requires a fundamental rewiring of the supply chain. For now, many international buyers, facing their own compliance deadlines, find Canada's compliance-ready system a more attractive, less risky proposition, leaving the U.S. at a critical competitive disadvantage. Trade policy crosswinds. Trade policy has only heightened the volatility. In early 2025, new U.S. tariffs and threats of retaliation spooked exporters. Analysts warned the $190 billion American farm export sector, including corn, could be squeezed by rising costs and shrinking demand. Freight volatility piles on. Even without tariffs, vessel shortages, higher insurance, and rerouted shipping raise expenses. In this environment, contracts go to suppliers who can deliver not just grain, but certainty, through paperwork, compliance, and smooth customs clearance. Where the corn goes, and how to win tomorrow's contracts. The U.S. still ships heavily to Mexico, Japan, Colombia, South Korea, Canada, and Taiwan. But today, contracts are won on documentation as much as on price. Importers demand GMO declarations, residue panels, sustainability guarantees, and proof of chain of custody. The formula has changed. Success means building identity-preserved lanes, digitizing compliance, and treating paperwork speed as a competitive weapon. The corn may grow in the fields, but the real competition is now in the data room. Verdict: proof, not just price. The U.S. hasn't lost its position as a top corn exporter, but the rules have shifted. Volume and logistics once defined success. Now it's documentation, traceability, and sustainability. Canada has been faster to bundle those into a green premium that Asian and European buyers will pay. For American exporters, the path forward is clear. Expand identity-preserved programs, digitize compliance, and treat proof as seriously as price. The future of U.S. corn will be decided not just in the harvest but in audit trails, customs checks, and compliance systems. What do you think? Can U.S. exporters catch up to Canada's traceability advantage, or will the green premium remain north of the border? And should farmers double down on biotech wins or diversify faster? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching Geoscope. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our next deep dive.